Hey everyone, and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today's topic will be on the Min Hee-jin vs HYBE controversy, but through a different perspective. Considering most of this has been a he said she said issue, with not much proper evidence to clearly validate either sides, I wanted to focus more on the ways that manipulation has occurred to an extent to allow for such division and perception. The plan is to split it based on the different types of tactics that have been used by both parties to show both intentional or unintentional forms of manipulation. But yeah, before I start, I'd appreciate it if you can like and subscribe to my channel. Without further ado, let's start off with the first tactic. The K-pop industry is very particular with wording, highlighting the incredibly political nature in how companies need to present themselves and their artists. The diplomatic skills required are incredibly noticeable, considering how easily idols can be criticized for not saying the right things, whether it's a valid bad take or a subjective opinion. There is no denying that freedom of speech is more or less not an actual thing for idols. This whole issue should have been dealt with internally and in strictest confidence to resolve in an amicable manner. However, the reporting of the initially rumored internal audit on Adore to the public was the first strategic tactic to already sway viewers. Considering the importance of image within K-pop, this leak set Adore and Min Hee-jin up for the initial wrath from the public, who would for the most part turn on them for their lack of appreciation for what HYBE has done for them. I mean, from the many previous instances of companies releasing statements regarding issues or updates, there is clearly intention in how companies phrase their statements to convey, deflect, or reduce the flames of certain circumstances. As a result, the reporting of the alleged misdeeds of Min Hee-jin and then for HYBE to intentionally confirm the internal audit indirectly confirms the issues that have been existing between the two parties. Despite this initial wave of negative perception, Min Hee-jin has also used this technique to Uno reverse some of it. I mean, her emotionally charged conference that international viewers were clowning her about saw the sway in domestic support. The perceived unprofessional image that it may have had also conveyed a greater sense of authenticity. Her choice of wording added more weighting when combined with the narrative that she uses of being a small worker going against a big corporation. The natural default assumption of emotional discussions typically benefit the outburster. Assuming there is no further history that is known, we tend to believe that the emotions represent a sense of hopelessness, as they use their quote-unquote last resource to convey their genuineness, which usually leads to more of an inclination to believe them. Obviously, there was way more history that clouded this default assumption. However, I want to say that this may not have been the case with domestic viewers, as well as other factors like the image breakdown of HYBE through the screenshots of conversations making them essentially no better. I feel like previous K-pop controversies have shown the effectiveness that wording and emotions have had on swaying people's opinions. It obviously wouldn't last if it turns out that they were in the wrong. However, the combination of this and the next tactic leads to both parties suffering to an extent, whether short or long term.
What's your ETA? What's your ETA?
The usage of previous controversial histories to form your own narrative should be taken with a grain of salt. I mean, the mention of NewJeans Cookie's lyrics and Chinese concept photos for Juliet era can establish a pattern of behavior, but it still isn't a complete direct link to her being instantly in the wrong, considering there are different issues to the current controversy happening. This also doesn't mean she's in the right, but people should properly assess the information provided instead of using this form of confirmation bias to reinforce the side that they have chosen. For HYBE, they've been able to utilize their goodwill gained throughout the years as a relatively decent company through the groups that they've managed decently to start off on the stronger side of being viewed as the people in the right. There is clearly a difference when two parties that are in a beef, where one side has a history of being problematic, while the other side is for the most part pretty decent. Whether intentional or unintentional, you are more inclined to naturally assume the less problematic one is likely to be in the right. Obviously, with more information, things can change. However, neither side have provided much value in terms of evidence besides statements that have many contradictions when further looked into. I mean, one thing that I've been thinking about is the fact that HYBE is internally auditing themselves. I know that the term internal audit is an existing term, and thus means there are reasons for why internal audits are used. However, with the clear animosity between the two parties, I can see more confirmation bias happening from HYBE to validate their beliefs in comparison to neutrality in assessing what they have found. The question question for me when seeing how certain viewers are fighting online about this is whether the truth actually matters. It surely should, but the way that some K-pop viewers are conveying their opinions seem to be a form of confirmation bias through the parasocialism that K-pop has effectively marketed to said viewers. The fear that some people have for their favorite HYBE artists to be impacted or linked to this is wild. The sense of justice to this cause has been so diminished that it's devolved into tangent after tangent, where this video could have been way longer if I included everything and everyone involved. Narratives are being formed left and right that validate certain statements as complete fact while also dismissing others despite being the same source type. I'm pretty sure a lot of these issues will be resolved by the time a conclusion arrives, but at this point in time, everything should be treated with skepticism as most things are hearsay.
This time I want you, like it's my lady.
And finally, the association that Min Hee-jin has painted of being the small worker considering her low shareholding percentage in comparison to her horrible and sexist boss that undervalues the work that she has put into the company has helped reposition her perceived image. Is that the complete story? Unlikely, but Min Hee-jin has essentially infantilized herself as this naive but diligent worker to deflect and center the focus on the misdeeds of HYBE. Part of it could hold some truth, however, she is a whole grown woman that has been in the industry for such a long time, so this narrative is pretty weak, but also can be effective for less informed people. Obviously, there are some nuances that I can't for sure say that it's completely not valid, like the Korean work culture and the existing sexism. However, she has not been able to subjectively justify the potential evidence found by HYBE besides that it was just jokes or casual conversations, which are definitely the weakest excuses I've heard. Once again, considering the many years within the industry, understanding the nature of her environment, and considering the benefits from the undeniable success of NewJeans, there is clearly some realism that was sprinkled into those conversations. Despite these cracks in the statement of Min Hee-jin, she has also strategically created a lot more confusion through associating other related and unrelated groups into this controversy. This has brought even more stands into the conversation, which has created even more chaos. From speculations to unnecessary linkings, there has been so much misinformation which has impacted the perception and actual realities of the situation and all the groups now associated. Once again, considering the value of image and perception, it was a bold move to include this many groups, as they all face negative associations from this controversy now. It does seem like a lack of care from Min Hee-jin's side, considering her instances to similarly leverage the goodwill of NewJeans through mentioning the group's support for her. From the members crying about Min Hee-jin's predicament to them submitting letters in support of her, this implies the trust that NewJeans members have on her, and thus by association, you should have on her too, considering you would expect them to stay neutral or voice their oppositions if it was really that bad. Ultimately, NewJeans have become a scapegoat towards her issues, as they've become the main face of support for Min Hee-jin. Regardless of the outcome, this has caused damages for all associated groups and their image. Considering the toxic nature of K-pop, this controversy will continue to follow these groups around as future ammunition, and all because HYBE and Min Hee-jin turned this into a public beef. Final thoughts. I do wonder from both sides on the usage of media play if they truly believe they are in the right. Neither have shown much solid evidence, so it could be a way to get some wins by swaying the public. I mean, for HYBE, they will need to really have damning evidence with the way they've approached their statements, and to sway back the support of domestic viewers. For Min Hee-jin, she will also need stronger evidence to defend herself too, considering it's been more pivoting and deflecting with new accusations being thrown left and right from her. I don't know how this can end amicably. I mean, they're literally fighting about two different issues, which can technically be both right, in that HYBE is plagiarizing and Min Hee-jin is trying to separate Adore from HYBE. Those issues aren't mutually exclusive. It's just a shame because both sides do have their faults, but their egos have prevented them from both backing down, from exposing more to the public, as public input has run rampant about both parties and now everyone associated. But yeah, that's it for the video. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts on the whole controversy between Min Hee-jin and HYBE. Thoughts on all the groups associated, and maybe what you think the future might entail for all parties involved. My next video will be a video that I low-key scrapped, but might want to talk about now. The video would be looking into Weekly, who I thought were getting their revival after Queendom Puzzle and their successful comeback with Vroom Vroom, but things have kind of been quiet, and assuming I don't hear any any announcement of a comeback, then they might be up next. Other groups I do have in mind, but I just don't really know too much about them, are Secret Number, Rocket Punch, and Laplace. So if you're interested in any of these groups, then please like and subscribe to keep up to date, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!
Shining bright, don't wanna fight.